Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Storymode podcast. We've been doing this for, this is the first one of 2018. Last one we did in December. And if you haven't seen this show before, it's pretty simple. This is a discussion-based spoiler cast where we talk about a game that we played over the last month, or in this case the last 2 weeks, due to reasons that will be explained in a moment. Real quick, for everybody here, I'm going to introduce my co-hosts. So we have Lewis, aka LRFLEW, on the top here. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So yeah, I'm Lewis, also known as LRFLEW.
I just stutter. Okay, I thought you were gonna say something, and then you just kind of stopped. And then we have Eggman down at the bottom. How you doing today, dude?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow because I have tomorrow off, because in the States it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Maybe I'll go skiing tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
I haven't been skiing in a long time. I need to go skiing. So we were originally going to talk about a different game today, which was a game called Illville. I guess before anything else, we are going to discuss everything about Doki Doki Literature Club from end to end, with as many spoilers as we can possibly do that. So if you haven't played the game yet, it's free. Just even if you're watching live, just end the stream, go play it.
Just
I'll put the VOD up. It'll be fine. So it's just a heads up. All right, so let's talk about Illville.
And by let's talk about Illville, I mean
the one person who's actually played Illville.
Let loose.
Okay, so this is my little rant section. So we were gonna play Illville, and for reasons that will become clear, we did not play Illville. Two of you got to get it refunded, but because I was the guinea pig and bought the game for $20 at full price, I did not get a refund because I went over the 2-hour mark. So Illville is a game. It's basically a point-and-click puzzle game, I guess.
Point-and-click walking simulator
puzzle game. But if you take your least favorite thing about all of those genres, it's all of those. So you start the game on a train and you're talking to a guy and you're like, okay, we're going to Illville, and we have these alternate reality AR trading cards that we're supposed to return to somebody, and that's why it's called return instructions. But you don't see the cards, and so you fall asleep on the train and wake up, and then you find out that he has apparently rifled through your luggage and not taken anything but the cards. So he takes the cards from you, and then you have to gather all of the luggage that he scattered all over this train car and put it back in your bag to move on to the next step, which is to get off the train. You go to the door of the train and it says, you can't get out this door because, and the instructions are on the door. It says, open the window and then turn the handle on the outside, because apparently there's no handle on the inside, which I guess is a safety feature. I don't know if I've ever ridden on a train like that. But the train is not working. So you're like, I don't want to open the window or break the window and turn it up. We can't do that. So instead, we're going to go wandering all over the train and find different things. And you're like, oh, I phoned the front of the train. There's nobody there. And then you go find a comb, and then you are like, oh, the train's not an emergency, so I can't break the window. But if it was in an emergency, I'd be able to. So you take the comb, a metal comb, and plug it into the fuse box and electrocute yourself. And then you have a strange vision, which isn't ever explained. And then you're like, okay, now I can go to the door. And then you just open the door anyways. So after you're off the train, you get the first save point in the game.
That's like the first level.
That's the first level. So
encounter.
I was actually intrigued by the story, but I'm not even going to go into that because it's not worth it. The time when you get electrocuted, you hear a voice in your head that she says something and whatever. So you get off the train.
The D-man.
The first save point, which you can't save the game. You have to save at these save points. If you don't save at the save points, you just go back to the beginning of the game, I guess, or back to the save point. So it's really stupid. So you wander around the train platform. You're like, I can't get into the place because there's a policeman guarding the thing, even though You could just walk right by him. He's just like, nah, you can't get through. So you go into the office and find the guy at the desk. He's like, no, you can't get it. You can't. I won't let you in because the train stopped for the night, and so you don't have your ticket because it was stolen out of your wallet. And then so you wander around, and then you like wait for a while, and he falls asleep at his desk. And you have to reach in to grab the key or grab the thing off of his desk, and then by the time you grab that off of the desk, the policeman at the gate had already left. So now you can use the card that you want to do because you're an upstanding citizen to go through the gate. Now after the gate, god damn it,
Also,
There
yes,
is-
Hugru.
there's a truck and a pile of cement bags next to it, and just garbage all over the place, and a bunch of locked doors and gates. You can go up to every single one of the doors and ask if there's anybody inside, but nobody will answer any of the doors. And it will and I forgot to mention this, for most items, when you interact with them, it will lock the game and you can't move until the dialogue is done. And so you try to talk to the guy that's in the truck that you can't see working on something. He's like, I can't deal with you right now. So you have to go get a broom handle and then take his hat off of a statue, because I don't know why it's on top of a statue that he can't reach. And you have to go give him his hat back. And then he's like, oh, I'll tell you how to get through the gate that's locked that you need to go through. I was working on the faucet, but I got my key stuck in there. And so you need to go get the key out of the faucet. Why? Why did you get your key stuck in there? So I'm like, oh, I saw this handle or this like valve earlier that you can turn. Oh, I'll go turn that, because that you weren't able to turn it before, even though there would be no reason that you wouldn't be able to turn it. And it's like, oh no, this is a gas valve, because obviously the gas valve connects to the same thing as the water valve. Then so you have to go back out the gate. Every time you go through the gate, you have to use the card again, and that's annoying. And you go to the other one, it's like, you can't turn this one because it's rusted shut. What do you think would be a good thing to unrust a rusted valve with? I would not assume soda pop, but that's what the game apparently thinks can unrust a valve. So you do that, and then you go back in, you turn on the water, the key comes out, but it's just the key ring, and there's no fucking key on it. And then so you go back to the cement pile, which you can now interact with, but I didn't figure. I had to look up a guide for this. and
Wait,
by
there was a
I mean
guide about this game? Someone took
They're
the
all
time
Russian
to make a guide.
because apparently Russians play this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a safe in the office that you stole the card from, and you had to go up to the safe, and your character's like, I know what to do now. And I'm like, no, I fucking don't. What do I do now? I clicked on everything in the entire game. And it's like, oh, no, you didn't click on the cement pile that you couldn't click on before, even though it was sitting right there. And then so you spray the cement on the stupid safe, and it lights up, it sticks to the keys that have the things in it. It's so stupid. And then you die again for the second time, which I forgot to mention. You died earlier. That has to deal with the cards. And then you get dragged off and during a cutscene, and then the game ends because it's only half a game. It tells you at the end of the game, it's only half a game here. It's only Act 1.
At least half, or at most half a game.
At most, half a game.
It could be like a tenth of a game, theoretically. So, because Eggman had to go through that, we then decided, instead of playing that for this episode of Story Mode, we threw back and forth ideas as to what we were gonna play.
Yeah. And just to say, thank you, Eggman, for taking the time so that we didn't have to suffer.
I guess I can claim that I'm one of the, I don't know, half dozen people in the world who has 100%ed Illville. So that's something, I guess.
Did it have achievements?
It had 12 achievements, and I got every single one of
I
them.
wonder how rare they are.
How rare?
Yeah.
I actually know that they're rare enough because in the global completion stats, they like snap to certain percentages. So like I know that there's only like 25 or like 30 people who have even done an achievement, because you can see like, oh, there's 3 of them that are at like 25.7%. That's odd. Unless there was a very small number of people playing this game.
I mean, nobody bought it, so there's that.
No, yeah, like the numbers we were seeing on Steam Spy were like 600 less.
Well, oh well.
Don't buy that game. Don't buy it. Do not support false advertising.
So,
I actually reported that game for false advertising. I would encourage you to go do it too, but
or at
I
least
don't
like
happen
upvote
because of
Eggman's
it.
interview, which Noob Slayer wouldn't have found, or not
Yeah.
interview review. Anyway, so because that thing turned out to be a steaming pile of dog shit, we decided instead to play something else. And so we threw around a couple of ideas, and I threw in Doki Doki Literature Club, and they were all just kind of like, fine, it's free. Screw it. Why not? Because Doki Doki Literature Club is free, and you should play it. Okay?
Yes, play it.
Play it. Anyways, we're going to be spoiling it right now. So if you haven't played it, you've been warned. So it's a visual novel. This is the first visual novel we've ever talked about. Now, part of the reason I wanted to do this game for story mode is because I knew I wouldn't play it. Because I don't like visual novels. And I'll explain why really quickly. So, visual novels... Okay, first off, I like anime, and I like manga, okay? But visual novels put you into a character in those worlds. So you are always first-person perspective talking to other characters. And because anime and manga are very often over the top or either flamboyant or out of this world, they're very cartoony in a lot of ways, except for like some cases where they're very serious. But even then, I can never suspend my disbelief to believe them when they're addressing me as a character. So I don't like that. So I wouldn't have made it through the first hour of this game if I wasn't doing it for either story mode or something where I had to finish it. I would have gotten bored and stopped.
I think it's fair to say that this is, if it weren't for the like second half of the game, basically, this is the most stereotypical, mundane dating sim in the world with checkboxes, literally marks them all off.
It's like saying, if you ignore the only part of this that makes it original, it's completely unoriginal.
That's true, but I mean, you get an idea like right when you start up the game that it's going to be something other than what it seems, because it says if you are easily disturbed or
They're very
have
nice
anxiety or
about that.
depression, it might not be the greatest idea to play this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad they at least had that warning, because that was definitely a good move.
I kind of wish they didn't.
Yeah, but that's the problem, is that at the same time, it's like it kind of ruins the surprise. I mean, I don't know.
Especially when Monica starts saying things like, oh, it'd be a shame if something were to happen to her.
I mean, but Lewis, do you look at, like, when you go to look at a game, do you look at the Steam, like, rating? I don't know if do they advertise ESRB or similar ratings on their site, or PEGI ratings?
It depends. If it's ESRB, then they will usually post it, but if there's not a physical box release, they don't have to have an ESRB rating, and so there will be no rating on Steam in that case.
Okay. That's interesting. Because I think this would have to be a pretty hard M.
Yeah. I mean, Steam does have that if it's like an M or equivalent. They have a mature warning page, so when you try to go to the page, it'd be like,
Doki Doki does have a mature warning. So if you're like going through your queue or whatever and you select it for the first time, you have to put in your birth date.
No. Half the ones you have to put in your birthday when you get those pages, but half of them, including Doki Doki, you just have to click continue. I don't know why and what the distinction is.
I put my birthday in.
Maybe
it's just because of psychological horror.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, it's not rated. That is a thing. So a lot of games on Steam are unrated, and this game is unrated. So I guess as Eggman said, it starts off as like the most boilerplate thing ever.
It sets up expectations with that, as I understand it. Like it's supposed to kind of get you in the mindset.
The moment you start to feel good about the characters.
So we should go through like the tropes of the characters and introduce them. So you play as MC Coon, generic male protagonist, or I guess you could
MC Coon?
MC Coon, yeah.
You play as Pants. Your Pants,
what?
your generic male protagonist, Pants.
Yep.
So you put on the trousers.
You first meet Sayori, who is your neighbor, childhood friend, who's like very
Super
carefree,
cutesy,
clueless, airhead type personality. and she wants you to join a club, specifically the club that she's in, which is the Literature Club.
Yeah, she's the vice president of the Literature Club.
Mm-hmm. Or no, she's not. She's not the vice president.
Yes,
Yuri's
she
the
is.
vice president.
No, Sayori is the vice president until Act 2.
Right. Anyways, she's the vice president of the Literature Club. Spoiler alert. That's fine. And so you basically like have a bit of chit chat with her in the morning, walk to school with her. You go through the day, like you just skip through the school day, and then you go to the end and you meet everybody in the Literature Club. And there you meet Yuri, who's the like smart, reserved, very apologetic,
Shy.
shy,
They throw the word shy around a lot.
overly tall.
tall. I mean, sure, long hair, dark hair, because, anyways. And you meet Natsuki, who's your tsundere, pink hair, very bubbly.
Uses a very aggressive demeanor to hide a very cutesy demeanor.
Yep.
Way to phrase that. Okay.
Has dad
And
problems.
then there's Monica, who is the president and the smart, beautiful, athletic, popular, like out of your league person. And yeah, those are the characters. And for the whole first act, it's pretty simple. You just kind of go through your acts in the club, and
Yeah. Have you guys played visual novels before this one?
I've played and finished one route of Clanad. I've played Danganronpa, and I've played a bunch of the Ace Attorney games.
Okay. To be more specific, this sort of visual novel, this kind of dating sim thing.
I have not.
I've been adjacent to them for a long time, so I'm aware of a lot of the tropes.
Okay, because I may be the only one who actually has played one before. I have played, what was it?
I mean, does Analog a Hate Story count?
Analog, I don't know that one.
No. We're kind of dating a robot. Kind of. It's not. There's no multiple options, so there's multiple routes, but there's no multiple girls that you can date or anything. It's just like
I played the one Katawa Shoujo. You've heard that one?
Yeah, I know about Katawa Shoujo. Katawa Shoujo. I'm aware of it.
So I mean that's about my only real experience in the genre, though I did actually go through the entire thing at one point. If you want my thoughts on that, not really good writing, but I don't know why I liked it. Anyways,
isn't that usually how these things work?
I don't know.
The writing is awful, but I liked it.
But I did notice an interesting parallel between the Act 1s in both games because they both follow the similar structure where it sort of sets up this branching story thing, except it's mostly linear with a couple of binary choices that affect how much you're liked by certain characters. And it all builds up into this big kind of festival event, which actually causes the split into multiple narrative structures. And they definitely set up Doki Doki to be that same sort of system where you're creating favorites among the girls, and then you basically are choosing one to go to the festival with.
These dating sims are essentially choose your own adventure books. Choose your own adventure picture books, essentially.
Man, that's not. I don't like that because that implies that they have multiple endings, and
a lot of the time they do.
Katawa Shoujo does.
I would say that it doesn't apply to this one, but
good. I'm just talking about the genre in general. Good ones often do have multiple endings. Like, Katie, my fiance, plays these things all the time. And like she'll do one route and then she'll sit down with a guide for like the next 3 days and just go through every single other route and get every single ending, get the 12 good endings. Like, Hatoful Boyfriend has something like 7 endings, and then a secret ending, and then the super secret ending. And then there's the what really happened, which is like a 20-hour long thing that is like has nothing else to do with the rest of anything else. Like, so a lot of the more complex visual novels do have multiple endings and multiple routes and stories and things.
I mean, I wouldn't. Again, Doki Doki it masquerades as a dating sim, but it isn't a dating sim.
No, it's 100% not.
Yeah, it uses the dating sim as like
it's a slasher flick.
Sure.
Yeah.
We should. There's the main mechanic of the game is that to like try to influence girls to like you is this poetry mechanic, and you try to write poems that you think your person of choice would like. And so in between days, like you're assigned a task by the literature club to write a poem, and you pick out words that you think would be representative of the person that you want to like get closer to, right?
Did you notice that in Act 1, I'm just going to call it Act 1, before everything gets super fucked up, when you get closer to the end, when you start to notice that there's something wrong with Sayori, that the words depression and sadness all start ticking on her instead of Yuri?
I think they always did.
I think they always
technically. I
did,
think
yeah.
they just start to appear more frequently later.
Maybe. Okay.
There's a really good
So-
wiki. If you want to try to get everything, which I ended up doing, there's a wiki for this game that lists every single word that each person favors in this game.
So those do change their responses then. Because I wasn't convinced that the poetry mechanic actually did anything.
It does. What it does is it affects kind of who you hang out with that day.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
So,
you write a poem and you focus on one person, and that next day you hang out with that person in the club.
Okay.
I was going to ask you guys, what in your first playthrough, which character did you did you attempt to try to bond with one character based on the first day, or did you just pick the words that you liked? Like which
I'm not
character?
sure I want to admit to this.
Why not? I was like, Yuri. I want to learn more about Yuri.
I was all for the Natsuki.
Natsuki.
Natsuki, is that how you say your name? I'm bad at
I
that.
kept wanting to say Natsuki as well, but it's like Natsuki. I don't know.
It reads like... Anyways, go on. So who did you bond with?
Natsuki.
Okay. Why'd you not want to admit that?
I feel like that's a really stereotypical answer, that like trying to say, oh yeah, I went for Natsuki says something about you, and I didn't want to admit that.
Why? Because she's a lolly? Anyway.
Not though.
Kind of. Anyway.
No, she's the tsundere.
Sure. Anyways.
Yeah, so I just asked that because I was kind of curious, because my plan was in my first playthrough to just play through it once, and I'm actually glad that just like play through one storyline and then whatever happens. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because after a certain point you can't really go back.
Yeah. It like
because it
screws
stops
you
letting
there.
Yeah, and so like there's a few decisions that I made sure to save around. Actually, I wanted to, before we go into that, I was gonna say for the poetry, I was having a really hard time because I wanted in the first 2 days to bond with Yuri on the first day and then Natsuki on the second day, but I ended up picking a lot of Sayori's words, and she is by far my least favorite character, even
Really?
after the whole thing goes down.
I ended up with her in the end before everything went down. So I was going for Natsuki, but I ended up with Sayori. So I think I got all of her dialogue. I'm not actually sure how that happened.
Yeah,
completely
I
fair.
actually had a lot of trouble telling the difference between Sayori's words and Natsuki's words. When I did my second playthrough and I was looking at the guide, I eventually came with the rule of thumb that, the problem with Sayori's, trying to figure out those, is that the one word that they try to use to describe it is, what was it, bittersweet?
Mm-hmm.
And so a whole lot of the sad words that you thought would go to Yuri and a whole lot of the happy words they thought would go to Natsuo, whatever, goes to Sayori.
Let's just start like mixing the names up.
Yeah. But I'd found that, Sayori tend to prefer more broader feeling words. So fun, sadness, tears, whatever, those more belong to her. Whereas more physical things like kitty, puppy, kiss.
Versus things like depression, horror, murder, words like that were all Yuri.
Yeah, Yuri had the big words.
The big words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the guaranteed one that I could get with Yuri. It was like big words, like, because depression, I was like, that probably associates with Lyria, and it's like Sayori, and I'm like, what? What? Why?
Also, if it has a prefix like un or in, it's most likely Yuri.
Yeah, if for those of you who haven't played the game, go play the game.
It's free. Go
you'll
play the
notice
game.
that we didn't mention in all that Monica, because she is not one of the characters. So you can tell
Later
which
on
character.
you can get words from Monica later down the line.
Sure.
Cough.
She like pops in off the screen.
In the main, before the game goes to shit,
It does
you
go to show.
have these little like chibi versions of the 3 characters that have routes next to them, and they like hop up and down when you pick a word that's associated with them, and Monica isn't one of those characters normally. So I was kind of disappointed in that, because I was like, Monica seems kind of like a stuck-up person. And I don't really care, and I was like, Yuri's the one that I wanted to go for. But
Can I stop for a second? How much did we all know about this game going in? I'm curious.
I knew that it was a psychological horror and that there was kind of a big twist, but I didn't know what exactly.
Okay. I'm just gonna say what I knew going in. I knew that there was something up with Monica. That's all that I knew.
I mean, you could tell that there was a lot of clues. Like even
Yeah.
after it's like
Load
the
me.
second home.
Load me.
Load me.
Load me.
Yep,
Yeah,
It's
that
like a
was the
disc
one,
scratching, like a nail on a chalkboard. Load me. Red, green, blue. Red, green, blue.
Don't forget to save your game when you come to an important decision. Wait, that's not really a writing tip.
Red,
Yeah,
green.
she breaks the
blue.
fourth wall constantly, and I was like, well, I'm still 100% suspicious of her, but at the same time, I was like, well, if she's not the thing, like she could be like the side character who's supposed to like give you fourth wall breaking hints, and like, but she was also styled as like
She
a really
admits
cute
to
girl,
that
and
later
so I can't.
too.
What?
She admits to that later too. Anyway. Go
Yeah,
on.
it's like my frustration was that like, what if I wanted to like try to get closer with Monica? Why was she in the club? And I suppose that's the question that I asked myself, and I just kind of ignored it because I couldn't do anything about it. And that's one of my biggest disappointments in the game, is that there's no choice. There's all choices are false in this game.
In the end, yeah.
So on the third day, the president, Monica, asks you all to prepare things for the festival, and you can basically choose who you want to.
Fourth day.
Sure, fourth day. You can choose who you want to go home with and help them with their task that evening, and you can't choose Monica.
You can't
But
choose Monica because everyone will bitch at her saying she has the easiest job.
yeah,
You can't choose Sayori because they bitch at you because apparently she's helping out Monica. And so
yeah, and then so you can choose between Natsuki and Yuri, and so Yuri is making banners and stuff,
I tried to
and they're all
choose
very
Sayori,
romantic, like
and the game got mad at me.
encounters. Sorry?
I tried to choose Sayori, and then the game got mad at me, so I ended up making cupcakes.
Yeah, cupcakes. That was seen as pretty good. Although, like, your character is very forthright. Like, you have the typical anime, like, oh no, I got
I almost quit
frosting
the
on my
game.
face, and then like, oh, MC Kun is just licking the frosting. That's you. That was the when I went through that scene, I had.
why do both of the story options there have you licking the girl's finger? Like, why is that a
That's like
theme?
super sexually harassing if the girls that are in the club didn't want to be in a relationship with you. And
Well, at least in
'Cause
the case
you
of
can
the
tell
Yuri
the-
one, she licks your finger first, so
I don't really like that part of it, because it just like
That would have been where I quit
It
the
made it-
game if I didn't know there was a twist, or didn't know what the twist was. Sort of. I would have
Yeah.
been out at that point. It was.
Yeah,
It's
and
amusing
so-
in hindsight, though.
and then like the first, well, you may have gotten hints of horror before, but like immediately after that, no matter if you chose Natsuki or Yuri, Sayori is just like standing outside your house stalking you at the end of the day. And
well, it's worth okay. Backing up a little bit, because before that scene with either Yuri or Natsui at your house, you go to Sayori's house and she admits that she has had lifelong crippling depression.
oh right, yeah, forgot about that.
It's a little hard to forget about that.
Yeah.
I forgot that. Yeah,
So,
I remember.
This
but-
part of the game actually hit me weirdly close to home.
Okay.
So, yeah, that part was kind of like, oh boy, I'm not okay with this. So
There's a few points in this game that kind of make you say, like, where are the adults?
yeah,
Like, Sayori apparently having serious depression symptoms, and their parents.
And you
are not,
just
you know,
walk into her
they're like,
house.
hey, maybe we should take her to a doctor.
It's just home invasions constantly.
And then later with the story with Natsuha, you know, they, particularly in the second act where they try to make it an even more extreme story, like, yeah, it sounds about time to start calling, you know, child protective services. Like, that's starting to sound like abuse.
There's a lot of abuse,
I
hinting at abuse in that story.
so
Yeah.
it sounds like Blind, you ended up like like you got the text for Sayori at the end
Yeah.
of like the first act or whatever.
Yeah,
And
I got the
I have
"Do
to
you love
say,
me?" question.
I really didn't like this decision that I had to make, because when she comes to you crying at the end of the day after you meet with Yuri or Natsuki, she's crying and she's like, "Oh, please tell me something that'll make me feel better." And like you can say either "I love you" or "I care for you a lot and I hope that we'll be good friends forever," which is basically saying
Fuck you.
fuck you, basically. Yeah, exactly. But I, just because of my personal taste, I was so anti Sayori throughout the whole first half of the game. It's just like, no, I don't care about you. Yeah, I know that they make it out like you're supposed to care about this girl, like you're supposed to, because you've known her since childhood. But I've known her for 5 minutes because she was introduced to me at the beginning of the game. I think that's stupid that I should have to invest a like a false adjustment to my like or dislike of this character. So I said, no, I'll be your friend forever or whatever, which I didn't like her enough. I wouldn't have even said that, but it was my only option. And so it's just like, they want to make me feel bad for her. And I'm like, stop making me try to feel bad, because I haven't known this character for long enough to feel bad about them yet. If Yuri, on the other hand, had said, I'm having crippling depression, I'd be like, oh no, that's really bad. Let's try to do something about this.
Well, she probably does too, but that's a different story. Okay, so she is literally the girl that my fiance was when I met her. Is that fair to say? Imagine that, but like human.
Okay, I mean, yeah,
That's like the exact person she was in high school. So, like, slightly less anime, but not by much. She was like the biggest possible weeb in high school, and so that is, to me, those are literally the same people, like same habits. Like, it was reading the first half of Doki Doki Literature Club for me was actually borderline freaky because it's like, did you know my life? Like, what? And that including with like what happens next and the crippling depression problem hit so close to home for me. It, like, I had to turn off my computer and go for a walk and then come home and continue playing, because it was like I that fucked me up bad. So yeah, that whole scene, I guess, worked really well for me because they were like, yeah, she's a stereotypical archetype, but for me, like, that was the person that I love, right?
So would you say that even though it evoked a negative emotion in you, that it was something that was positive about the game because it did cause that emotion in you?
Oh, it definitely caused that emotion in me, but for arbitrary reasons. And I can see how that would be a problem.
Well, I'm just asking, did you think it was a good or bad thing that you felt those things? Is that what you wanted to that's kind of a hard thing to ask, but like, is that what you wanted to feel given that stimulus?
I thought how do you say her name? Like, short pink haired girl. Natsuki. I thought she was like a cuter person. So if I was actually playing a dating simulator that wasn't this game that had all of these characters, I'd go after her in the context of the game, because she was the character that I found the most interesting, just in general. But when that moment happens at the end of the first part, holy shit. Like, that, I mean,
it is abrupt, and like it kind of like I knew it was gonna happen
because they hint at it very heavily.
I wrote in my notes like, she's dead. She's just dead.
Well,
like, she's gonna die.
I'm sorry. The day before all of that happens, freaking, well, not the day before. Was it the day before or the day after? Anyways, Monica says it would be a pity if something were to happen to her. I think twice.
And the other thing that frustrates me is that like the if you were like trying to influence Sayori and you say that you love her at that decision point, then it kind of
she laughs and she
invalidates
says,
that
"I love you so much I could die."
yeah, it's like she dies either way, so it's like it's so stupid, and that's why I didn't feel bad about it after the fact. So I'm like, well, because I saved right before that, and I was like, well, let's figure out what both of these are, and both of them lead to the same thing. It's
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
That entire there's a lot of little kind of hints and foreshadowing that I didn't really catch until my second time through. The biggest of which is in that whole spiel when she's talking about, talking to you about everything, particularly when you reject her. She mentions that maybe Monica was right, and then you try to, get her to say what Monica had said, but she doesn't answer. And in retrospect, it's like, oh, was Monica the one telling her to commit suicide?
I'd be willing to bet it was Monica, because at the end, Monica's like monologuing about how she had to increase Sayori's depression and maximize Yuri's like insanity.
obsession, basically.
That's what I was looking for. And increase Yuri's obsession to get to you. So I'd be willing to bet that entire time she was manipulating the programming of the character to make her off herself. By the way, just to be blunt, you walk into Sayori's house and she's just hanging from the ceiling. Like, it's just like,
and it sucks, and
it's really well animated though.
And so, at this
disturbingly
point in the game,
so.
The game ends. It says the end, and then you go back to the menu. But the new game option is like garbled text,
corrupted.
So you're like, well, I'll click on it again, and
it's worth pointing out on that main menu. They have the 4 characters as little kind of each of them in poses, and the one where Sayori was basically became Monica with little clips of the other girls trying to make the same sort of shape that was there before. It looks really glitchy, and it's supposed to.
Yeah, and so you can do that, and so you basically play through the whole, like a very abbreviated version of the game again, and it ends up with
it does the Nier Automata thing.
I don't know what that is, but
okay.
Sure.
Nier Automata does
no spoilers for Nier Automata. I need to play that.
Me too, but I don't. Anyway, go on.
And so basically, like you mentioned that Monica was increasing Yuri's obsession, and so in this one, it's like I was still like, okay, Yuri's still around, so I'll kind of go after her again, I guess. And then so I do that again, and she's just like full on yandere, which is it's obsessed to an unhealthy degree with something, and usually it's a boyfriend.
Go play Yandere Simulator and you'll understand. It's fine.
Don't play it on Twitch though.
Yeah, don't stream it. You'll get banned.
Yeah. But
it's worth pointing out
unhealthy obsession. And sorry, Lewis.
It's worth pointing out that at this point, the game restarts, and it restarts without Sayori in the world. It's like literally Sayori's gone. She's no longer the vice president. Yuri is. She is basically like she never existed. And you can still go after either Natsuki. I have it written over here. It's Natsuki.
Or it's not Natsuki. It's Natsuki. That's how you pronounce it.
Natsuki.
That's how you pronounce it, Natsuki.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Whatever. I'm pretty sure it's Natsuki sounding bad. Anyways, you can either go for her or Yuri still again in each of the poems. And if you do focus on either of them, more focusedly, you can tell that they have changed. For Natsuki, they kind of changed something really interesting. That first day, if you try to read with her, she goes through this whole thing where like she starts getting glitched out eyes and everything, and Monica ends up throwing her a protein bar, and it's like, oh yeah, like her father doesn't leave food in the house, so sometimes she gets hungry, and kind of just have to make sure you have food around her if you want to hang around with her. And Yeah, no.
I didn't get
My
that
heart.
text because I didn't do that one, but
Oh, you didn't get
It
that
was-
text? I did.
That was the one that made me say, okay, maybe I should stop going after Natsuki.
well,
Really? That made
I
me go
was
after Natsuki
disturbed
more.
because
Did
for
you wait? Did you
Yuri's
get
line-
the? And then her. Anyways, go on.
I did end up replaying it and focusing, like doing all 3 poems for one person for each character to see what happens. And if you do write 3 poems for Natsuki in the second act, you get a really creepy ending.
That's what I got on my first time through.
I
It's
ended up
like
playing
grudge
or
level.
doing Yuri 3 times because
Oh, that
I
was.
mean,
That might be creepier, honestly.
Wait,
Oh.
hang on. So, which creepy thing are you talking about? Because I didn't play through a second time, Lewis.
Okay, in both cases, something really weird happens. For the one for Natsuki, on the 4th day, so after you've written the 3rd
Yeah.
poem, she'll give you this cryptic poem with, it's actually, I think, base 64 text, and it encodes
Yeah.
this really weird poem, and then she's like looking at you, and she does something weird. She starts saying some weird stuff, and then suddenly her neck snaps.
Yeah,
like
and then it says the end backwards.
Yeah, and it says the end backwards, and then it resets.
my poem for Natsuki was just a note written to me that says like, I know what Monica's doing, blah blah
Yeah,
blah
I'll
blah.
get back to that because that happens unless you don't do like the 3 for her.
See, I
building
also got
something
that. I
Actually,
know
no.
what Monica's doing. I know what Monica's doing. I know what Monica's doing. I know what Monica's doing. And then, what happened with Yuki then, in that act?
Yuri.
Or not,
I'm getting things
yeah,
confused.
Yuri.
That's what happens on the 3rd day after 2 poems. But with Yuri, if you go for her 3 different days, because there's the one scene where you walk out because she was getting water from the fountain. You walk out and you see her with the cuts on the arm, and it rewinds. If you get that twice, the second time she'll be like, I just had a real weird sense of deja vu. She's talking to you outside the class, like, I really want you to come to my place. I have this huge collection of knives. It's so sad that the knives don't ever get used. We can talk out here without Monica knowing. And then it's like image of Monica starts to appear in front of everything, and so it's getting bigger.
She just
and bigger
hops in front of your UI, and she's like, "Hi."
and darker. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so for Yuri though, if you pick, well, I guess I picked her all the time because like I was trying to pick other characters and I always just ended up picking Yuri's words anyways because I was bad at figuring out which words for who. But for her ending, it was like you get this like really, I'm super obsessed. She like tells you, I took a pen from your bag and I touched myself with it last night. And then you're like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. And like you're given a choice. It's like, I love you or I don't want to hang out with you anymore because she's literally the biggest creep ever. And then she's just like, stab, and she stabs herself.
That's why I mentioned Higurashi at the beginning, because that reminded me of something from Higurashi.
There's so much that happens even before that whole scene with Yuri. One of the creepiest ones is that on that day 4, when you talk to Natsu or whatever, and she'll do like, here's my poem, and then you read it, and it's like this handwritten note, like, I'm really worried about Yuri. She's acting all strange. I can't confront her about it because she'll get mad. You're the only one I can trust to, ask, talk to her about this. I also don't trust Monica. So please don't tell her I wrote her this. Just pretend this was a nice poem. And then you put it away and the game glitches out and she loses her face. And it's like, disregard that last sentence.
Yeah, I got that.
Everything was fine. Just Monica. And yeah, that's
Yeah,
a thing.
Yeah.
Just Monica.
My main frustration though after like going through all these is that it doesn't make a difference. The same thing happens. Like after this, you go through like barely part of another day, and it's like, nah, Monica's just like, nah, we're just gonna delete all this. Oh, hi, we're hanging out together now forever in a room, just me, just Monica. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna talk to you, and I'm not going to let you speed up the text, and I'm going to wait for 30 seconds in between each bit of text.
You can speed up the text. Press enter.
No,
Wait,
it doesn't let you.
Good
in
for me then.
Monica's.
What?
You can go through the text dialogue, by hitting space or enter or whatever, but it's really weird. Act 3 is the only act where the text speed slider does not affect it. It works in every other act.
Yes. So that was my, well, that's not the end of the game. You don't get the credits roll then, as I figured out. But I did watch an hour of Monica's dialogue before I realized that there's 51 options, and I've seen all of them.
No, I
Oh my
ended up
gosh.
figuring this out pretty quickly.
You guys, it sounded like neither of you guys read all the dialogue, from what I hear.
I did find the page on the Wikia that has all the dialogue.
Fine, whatever.
I've read a good chunk of them.
She gets, and this is what pissed me off after this. Then I didn't even want to like try to figure out what other secrets there were in the game. It's just like, first of all, it repeats, and like I didn't get the notification that's like, oh, you should do something with the file, but it gets super preachy, and it's just
until
like,
you popped in on Discord and you're like, how do I get out of this? I'm just delete her.
Yeah, but like the thing is, it's
delete her. That's exactly what she says in her poem in the second act.
Whatever, that's fine. I forgot that because I played like 10 minutes of it after I thought I finished the game, and then I came back to it. And I'm like, oh, there's probably more text or something. But if you want to like actually read it, it's just super depressing because it's basically Monica breaking the fourth wall and talking about all the problems of our world, and it's not what I want to see in a game. It's so depressing, and also it's hypocritical because the person who's playing the game is literally doing everything that she's talking about, things like, oh, people are just too connected to technology and people won't be able to connect with each other, and we have to retool our society so that, oh my god.
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot in there. I mean, there's one where she talks about how she has a Twitter account, and yes, there is a Twitter account that is supposed to be officially Monica. It's a thing.
Doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, sure, but like half of the text is just really preachy, and I didn't like it at all. It made me really angry.
There's one where she talks about being a vegetarian.
Anyways,
there's one
to find that account now.
Cannot get in game. There's one that is literally not in game. The only way you can find it is if you start hunting through the game files and try to find the file with Monica's dialogue in it, and she'll be like, hey, I don't think you should be doing that. Hey, you know what I'm talking about? I caught you doing something naughty here. You're just going through the files and looking for stuff you missed, aren't you?
It's just, I don't know. It made me very angry, and I didn't like that part of the game. Even though like I didn't pick up on the fact that I was supposed to delete Monica. I was planning on doing that. I just thought that there would be an end to it and it wouldn't just be repeating, because that's just, I don't like that tactic in video games. And I guess I wouldn't say I missed the clue. I just quit playing the game because my plan was to go through as much as possible until it was clear that there was an end to it. So that's why I got burned on that.
Yeah. Hey, what's your favorite game? Mine is Doki Doki Literature Club. That was a joke. But if you tell me you like some other romance game better, I might get a little jealous.
Yes, that's one of the things that she says.
That cracks me up.
That's pretty good.
So basically how you get the actual credits roll is you delete her character from the game files, and then you go back in, and then you start playing the first little bit of the game. And it basically, you go to a club where Sayori is the president, and there's
it's basically like Act 2, except instead of Sayori gone, it's Monica that's gone.
And then the game kind of bugs out again, and you get Monica's actual voice, and she reads you a poem.
You
Sings you
are getting a little ahead of yourself, because in that last act, in Act 4, you start going through, and it looks like it's kind of like it was, originally, but without Monica, and things are definitely looking a lot happier, yada, yada, yada.
Everybody seems a bit more normal.
Yeah, Yuri Natsura leaves to go to the bookstore. Yuri Natsura leaves to go to the bookstore, and so Sayori is talking to you, and she's like, yeah, I'm the club president now. That means I now know that this is actually a game. And she starts becoming self-aware, and Monica steps in and is like, nope, we're not having this.
Yeah, she's like, I know everything that Monica did.
Yeah,
that doesn't change the game though. Like, we already knew that the characters could be self-aware. Just that Sayori becomes self-aware or Monica becomes self-aware, like, that doesn't change anything to me. Like, I don't think that it was egregious that I skipped over that because of other sentiments that I've already expressed, that there's no choice in this game.
I feel like getting mad at a game for not having choice is like being mad at a penguin for not flying. It's like
But
it's not what it's supposed to do.
Can we
but
not?
then it's like the worst version of like a walking simulator or a clicking simulator
That's a
because
matter of opinion, though.
Yeah.
it
We
is.
had this
but
exact same discussion about with other games about whether or
Yeah.
not choice or um
I mean, you liked. I seem to recall you liking Virginia, right?
I loved Virginia. Eggman hated it.
No, I did not
It
like
was
it.
me that liked Virginia.
Okay.
And that was my
And I don't want to
primary
have this
complaint there,
discussion
too.
again. I
No, but
really
it's
don't.
the same discussion because whether or not you liked one for that reason would directly affect whether or not you like the other for that reason.
Boonies nailed it. They give you the illusion of choice, and that's the point.
I like to actually be given choice though, especially in a game where like it gives you the choice of picking one of the girls to hang out with, which I suppose, to be fair, you do get to hang out with one of those girls if you pick the words correctly and you get to like do a little bit of that. But because it just invalidates all the choices that you've made prior to that point by saying just Monica, it's like I didn't like that.
It's telling a story.
Big spoiler here. There is something that happens based on your choices. In particular, if you use the saving and loading to go through every choice, which I did on my second playthrough.
That's not a choice either, though.
The
That's you
ending
must.
changes. It's a different ending.
That's not a choice either, though, because that's just saying.
So what's the ending in that case? As I said, I'm not having this discussion again, Eggman. I'm sorry.
So if you remember me saying,
But this is the game, Blind. We have to talk about it.
We're here to talk about the story of the game, not the way the game is constructed.
Those are dependent on each other. We've had this discussion before too.
And we're not having this discussion again.
Okay, whatever. What are you saying?
Go listen to Virginia if you want to hear us argue about this.
oh boy. Anyways, so as I mentioned in the base ending, Sayori becomes self-aware. It starts basically talking about trying to take you for herself. Monica steps in and says, no, this is bad. Clearly this game just causes whoever's president to become self-aware, and so there's no happiness to be had here. And she starts deleting the game. And so when you start having the credits scroll, you see her deleting all the images and all this stuff. But it changes a bit. If you go through every option, Sayori commends you for going through every option, saying you really tried to make everyone happy. And so instead of deleting the whole game, she tries to like lock you out. So try to say like, let's keep this perfect image in. And so the characters stay, but they delete you from getting access. Does that make sense? It's like the same effect, but it's a little bit different. And you end up with a message from the developer at the end instead of Monica.
Yeah, I went and watched the special ending just on YouTube, and I don't know. To me, it felt kind of like, and I haven't played this game either, the Mass Effect 3 ending. That's like if you get 100%, you get like a second of extra content, and I won't spoil it for those of you who care about Mass Effect 3, which was widely panned as one of the most illusion of choice games ever.
I mean, if you didn't like the game, yeah, sure, the special ending's not going to change your mind or anything.
Yeah, that's something I was wondering about because I didn't have time to do it. But what happens if you re-download the game and delete everybody except for one character, for example?
From what I read, I ended up reading this one online.
I actually did this, so I can.
Okay, right ahead.
So I went through and did like almost every combination of characters, and I started by deleting Monica because she's like the primary character. And this is the only deleting Monica by herself is the only one that actually does anything. Well, there
in particular.
So when you delete Monica, start up the game, it starts normally. You see Sayori, and she's like, "Oh, what is this? I don't know what's happening. Nothing seems real." And then the game shuts off, and you're like, "Oh, that was weird."
Oh, it's worth also pointing out that if you wait long enough on that screen, you get a drawing of Sayori hanging herself.
Well, if you restart the game, you get her too.
Yeah. And so that just basically becomes the game at that point, and so you also reinstall. Though, side note, you don't have to fully reinstall. There's a file in the game directory called First Start. Delete that. When you start it back up, it'll ask you whether or not you want to restart a new save.
Yeah. Huh. So if you then delete Sayori, you won't actually get the text that I just said. You'll just cut directly to a screen of Sayori hanging. And then the other characters will actually reinstall themselves. Like if you delete Yuri or Natsuki, the files will come back. And if you delete 3 or 4 characters, as long as Sayori is missing, you'll get the. If Sayori is missing, you'll get the Sayori dead screen. If just Monica is missing, you'll get the one little bit of dialogue at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of the character files, did you guys ever take a look at what those files actually were?
No.
Because if you thought they were actual game files, like files of the game's actually using, you're wrong. They are not.
I didn't really expect them to be.
I opened them up in hex
.chr files.
Yeah, the ones that are .chr, they're actually just renamed. The file extensions are changed. If you looked at it with the hex editor, I was able to identify it. So Monica is actually a PNG. It has this kind of weird halo light with this like code in the middle. According to the Wikia, apparently that code takes you to a website. Natsuki is a JPEG, which is like an inverted image of a cone projection of a woman. Sayori is a .ogg audio file, which produces that like image sound thing. Like I know Portal did that for a lot of their Easter egg stuff.
Yep.
And that links to something. And Yuri is a base 64 encoded text file, which came from a Reddit post about someone who had found like a wooden box with a little girl's confession to murder or something like that. I can find you that link, but the Wikia page is the best place to find it because they include all the things, and a lot of these seem to refer to the next game from the creator, because they talked about a lot that they seem to be making references to characters and other things that sound like it might be his next game.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, anyways. There was actually one little bit that I found that wasn't, it may have been on the wiki, but I didn't go to the wiki. I just like checked a bunch of the different game files, and there's one, it's in the scripts.rpa file, and it actually has its own little poem in it.
Can I said that we weren't going to talk about this, but can I just say that I think this game does have choice? It's just not in the game itself.
That's getting really meta.
Saying this game isn't meta is
the only winning move.
This game is
not
meta.
To play.
This game is extremely meta.
Yeah.
What sort of choice do you feel you were presented outside the game, though?
The option to go find out more.
I'll actually concede to you that, because that was one of the reasons that I liked Californium so much. But I liked the base game enough to encourage me to do that.
I mean,
I think that
go on.
my kind of hatred for this game after the fact comes from my endless Monica loop that I got myself stuck in, thinking that there would be something more and not recognizing the loop at some point.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's just the visual novel dating sim is a farce to make you play through a story of an AI becoming self-aware and screwing with your computer.
I would say facade is a better word than farce, but yes.
Sure.
It is interesting looking through the Wikia page, because there's a lot of occurrences that basically happen with some chance that, in Act 2, there's a 1/3 chance that a red filter gets applied. There's a 1/3 chance that your cursor gets replaced by a glitched out.
I had that.
Sayori head.
Yeah.
There's a 1% chance that when you select a word for Yuri in the poem minigame, that it gets replaced by this, I don't know, really creepy art.
Is it like a really long thing of text that just says?
Well, there's that one. There's about a 50% chance that in any poem there'll be a glitched out piece of text. When you click on that, the entire thing, glitches out.
Yeah, because I did that. But what was the really creepy one?
I can't tell. It's a very It's weird. I can't describe it.
Link? I need to see this.
Doki Doki Literature Club.wikia.com/wiki
Just put it in the chat.
We have a Twitch chat here. We have multiple chats actually.
Yeah, well, also for people on YouTube and stuff.
Semicolon / /
But now I have it open so I can bookmark it.
Anyways, if you just Google Wikia Doki Doki Literature Club Easter eggs, you'll find the page. But go down to number 4 on random occurrences. That's what I'm referring to. But there's a lot of these, like how, and you mentioned
just leaves.
You mentioned that in day 3 of Act 2, there's little things where Monica will kind of appear out from the bottom of the screen when you select words. Apparently, that's just completely random. It's not that words go for Monica. It's just that randomly she'll pop up instead of the actual character. There's a 2% chance that there'll be a certain image that flashes whenever you pause, go to the menu. Sometimes the background of the game will have say Ori hanging herself in the background. There's a 1/3 chance that Monica will start glitching out.
The Monica jump scare we need to mention too, because I didn't realize this is hilarious. So it says in here that if you are recording the game with OBS or XSplit, there'll be a jump scare, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
really.
It's in Act 3. I'd mentioned this a little bit earlier before the podcast, but if you have OBS open, a little bit of Act 3 can change. So if you don't have OBS open, Monica can try to look at your window account username and we'll try to read that. And if it's different, it will try to correct herself. So it'll be like, oh, I'm talking to you, whatever name you put into the game, or are you actually, and then it'll say your username, and which is a really weird thing for it to do.
I actually like that quite a bit because I put in my online name Thyeggman instead of my real name, and it's like,
yeah.
are you really
unfortunately for me, that's my computer's username as well, so it doesn't work out.
I'm just sad because I used to always name my computer Starscream, so I like little conceit about when I was a little bit younger. This is the first computer I've ever had where I just use my real name.
This is like an after hours topic, but what I need to know Blind's opinion on Starscream in the new Transformers films.
What Transformers films?
I don't know if that was supposed to be.
Anyways,
sarcastic.
Anyways, yeah, in that Act 3, if you do have OBS or XSplit, it actually looks for both OBS or XSplit, but if you have it open, she'll get into this whole thing where she starts talking about, I'm pulling up the page right now. Oh yeah, you're recording this, aren't you? Hi everybody. Sorry, I can't exactly read your comments from here. And then she starts saying, like, get really self-conscious on camera here, put me on the spot now. I'll do a magic trick. Are you ready? And then the camera starts slowly zooming on her face for a few seconds and it snaps back out. It's like, yeah, I'm just kidding. I can't really do anything at all. Just give me some time to and then there's a jump scare. It's like, did I scare you? You're so cute. Haha. So this game has some really kind of clever writing at times.
I don't know. I enjoyed it for the most part, except for that one
scene. I guess on the writing, I thought it was
all right.
Having never played a dating game visual novel before, I thought it was decidedly average. Even if you just look at the part before everything goes to crap. So
I think for me, the writing was just kind of it served its purpose. I've listened to Monotone Tim read a number of visual novels with awful writing, so like it didn't have, it didn't suffer from a lot of the badly translated visual novel tropes, but I think that it did some really clever things as far as meta goes, and I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Speaking of badly translated visual novels, there was one joke that I actually liked quite a bit, where Monica was talking about using something to write with.
No, like, Hooguru. That's all I'm gonna say. Go on.
Monica was talking about like using a pen to write with, and she's like, "Is it gonna be a squid ink pen?" Because Monica.
No, wasn't that joke about
I'm not done yet.
The festival where they're like, will there be squid there?
Yes, and it's because Ika is squid in Japanese.
Yeah.
Monica.
Don't they call out like that joke doesn't work well in translation?
Yeah, it's not a translated game.
See, like
Yeah.
that joke doesn't
There's a
work
lot-
well in translation. I read that and I was like, I don't understand this, and then I just moved on.
There's a lot where like it's pretending to be a Japanese game translated to English, where it's actually an English game pretending to be Japanese. And there's a lot, and so there's a lot of weird, like kind of references to Japanese terminology that you don't use pretty much anywhere here in North America. Like at the very beginning of the game, Sayori says he doesn't want you to become a NEET, NEET, which is apparently an acronym for like no education.
Neither employed nor entering training.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, okay. And then there's a little point later when they're talking about the Parfait Girls manga with Natsuo. And, he's like, these girls look very
Moe.
M-O-E. And I was like,
Moe.
yeah, whatever it is. Like, I don't know that either. Then you got the Monika one. And there was another reference as well. But kind of in the end, I was like, that it almost seemed distracting in a sense. Know what I mean?
Oh,
I'm
I
not
like
sure
that.
I like that they were in there. I get why they were in there, but I'm not
Do
sure.
you
I like
watch anime regularly, Lewis, or even often?
No.
Okay, I mean, I really liked those references.
I did too.
I haven't read the Parfait Girls anime or heard of it, but I mean,
Is it
I'm
real?
I'm
assuming it
sure
was
that
made up.
somebody got enjoyment out of that.
Is it real? That's what I want to know.
What do you mean? Is it, the Parfait Girls
Yeah.
anime?
I've never heard of that. Is that real?
What's
Yeah.
the Parfait Girls anime? Or manga, I suppose. Parfait manga.
I mean, I have evidence of being a bit of a weeb right there, so.
I think like the only real anime I've seen was like a few
Parfait.
episodes of Pokemon, and I've also watched the movie Your
You should-
Name. And
You should
that's like
watch
it.
Food Wars.
Probably should.
You should watch Food Wars. You'll realize that Texas barbecue isn't that cool. Because people's clothes
No.
stay on. Anyway.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. No, thank you.
Shokugeki no Soma.
Why?
This is
This is lovely. Final thoughts.
final thoughts? Yes.
Just
know.
Monica.
Just Monica. Anyways, I'm just gonna put this back and leave this up. Did anybody notice that I was flickering this on and off half the time?
I saw it and I chuckled at it the first time, but
Like, did anybody notice that? Anyways.
You actually followed through on that. I'm so happy.
Dude, I turned that on and off.
wait. Oh, I was gonna. Anyways, that's fine.
But that's gonna be the thumbnail for this episode. But yeah, no. My final thoughts. I enjoyed it, but I just like things that are super meta. As far as like dating sims goes, I mentioned why I don't like them at the beginning, and why I probably won't ever stream one. But we can talk about that a little bit more in after hours. As far as closing thoughts go, let's go with Thyeggman.
Yeah, I like I said, I know that there are games that for which the illusion of choice is not that big of a deal. I just felt like it was a big deal in a game that was masquerading as a game in which choice is supposed to be the whole game. So that's why I didn't like it, and partially because I got stuck in the Monica loop at the end. But it's free, so I guess if you're willing to spend 5 hours, I would still recommend it.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of points you can easily get stuck in this game. I didn't mention this in the episode, but Fox Tex in a chat, I did convince her to play it, and I was like, "Yeah, you're probably going to get stuck at 3 points, and I'll come help you get unstuck from those points." She got stuck 4 times, surprisingly enough.
Fourth one.
So the first one was after that first reset where I took it back to the main menu. She'd quit the game and told me, "This is a sick game." It's like, I don't think you finished it that quickly, and so I got her to play it back again. Then we got to the whole thing with Yuri, because we didn't talk about when you get to that Yuri thing after she kills herself. The camera kind of gets locked on her, and you just get a whole bunch of garbled text, and you have to use the skip feature to skip past literally 3 in-game days of just this garbled text, and like you see the sun like going.
I thought
brighter
that
and
I'd like
darker.
hit some sort of dead end ending at that point and had to like
And
reset the
you
game.
see like each day she gets like more, you see the life drain from her. It's so creepy if you pay attention to it. Her eyes become grayer and
It's
like
also very Higurashi.
but yeah, you pretty much, I had to show her that, yeah, there's a skip button and it fast forwards to that whole thing. And yeah. And then the third one was, of course, actually deleting Monica because she was lost there. She would not have figured that out on her own. And then the fourth one was after Monica, and it took her back to the main menu. She was like, okay, I'm quitting now. And so I was like, no, you're not done yet. You still haven't seen the credits.
You're not. I swear you're not done.
Yeah.
Even after the credits, you're technically not done. There is more you can screw around with, but
Not without resetting the game, though.
So that kind of wraps up the show for today.
I wanted to give just my final thoughts, which
sorry, go ahead.
I'd figure because, like, I mean, I like meta stuff. I'm so meta, even this acronym, and but I can see why it's not everyone's thing. It's certainly not going to be like my game of the year or anything. It was good.
It was a neat thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a neat thing. I'll go that far.
I'm glad that I played it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyways, as I was saying, that wraps up the show for today. If you haven't seen any episodes of Story Mode before, there is a full list. If you type an exclamation point podcast in my Twitch chat at any point in time, for those of you watching live, you can find a link there. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel. You can find the rest of the episodes there. And if you're listening on SoundCloud, I have no idea how you found it, and you're one of like 6 people, so congrats. But you can subscribe to the RSS feed and link it to a podcast player of your choice and listen to this once a month, or you can just catch it live, which is what most people do. So we do an episode of Story Mode on the second Sunday of every month. It's mostly just a for fun thing that we've just been doing for like 2 years now. So we'll figure out what game we're going to play next, and we'll talk about that in the after hours show if you're watching live. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and is there anything you guys want to shout out before we head out here? Anything at all? Mention?
I'm pretty
I
good.
guess so. You were saying something, Eggman?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, then I'll just mention I do have a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LRFLEW, the name that's below me right now. I want to get back into Super Mario Odyssey speedrunning. That'll be fun. Maybe I'll pick up World Peace %.
Okay.
That'd be
And if you're watching live, this is my Twitch channel. I stream on twitch.tv/BlindIRL. You can find me at stupidskull.com or blindirl.com. And also check out Schematics Team on YouTube. Exclamation point Schematics in the chat, or just Schematics Team on YouTube. And we're going to go into After Hours now. So if you were, as I said, if you're watching live, just hang out. If you're not, you're SOL. Show up for the live show next time. See you guys in a few moments. Have a good one.